Welcome to Chapter and Verse with Kireet Kokala. I feature fellow authors, technologists, artists, and thought leaders on my channel. I'm so thrilled to have with us today our guest, Kevin Kokinda. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Kevin's an author of an empowering book called Finding Your Career Mojo, Muddling Through the Resume BS, and it's available on Amazon and Audible. And he's also the founder of Resumedics Career Strategies and Solutions, where Kevin's been on an amazing mission to optimize the personal branding of individuals and market job seekers to potential employers in a super competitive landscape as we've all experienced, right? So from penetrating AI-infused application tracking systems to building amazing magnetic LinkedIn profiles, Kevin's a master. He has invested over 12 years in helping professionals on every level get noticed and get hired. So, Kevin, it is a pleasure to have you here on Chapter and Verse. And we've known each other for a while now, for a few years. And I'm
hmm
such a big fan of your book, man, and all the guidance that emanates from you, Kevin. So I thought it's incredibly important for our viewers to understand your career strategy, that resume approach, whether it's helping people fresh out of college or seasoned executives. And what's a better way to do that than to get into some Q&A? So Kevin, let's just jump right into it. If you could
Okay.
take us to that moment, Kevin, when the idea of finding your career mojo really clicked. Was it a conversation? Was it a struggle you witnessed or something personal that lit this fire?
Well, a little bit of everything, really. When I started writing the book, um, I was able to take a lot of great information just working with existing clients, but it was also a way to bring my own story into it just a little bit. And I didn't want to make it a biography, but the focus with the book was also to say, look, I get it. I was in the trenches. Um, I've dealt with the same ups and downs, and I was able to learn from it as well.
I like it.
it's
What would you
it's the
say?
reality of it.
It is. It is. It truly is. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who benefit from your experience and expertise here. But what if someone's just picking up your book for the first time? What is the single most important truth they'd walk away with about reigniting the spark in their career?
Well, I think the main takeaway, Creed, is not to expect it to happen overnight. We expect immediate gratification. If you're going to pivot in careers or you're going to do a different direction or you're not sure of where you're headed professionally, you have to remember that even if you have a path or a journey, it's going to take some time to develop that, a roadmap, if you will. So I do tell people you really have to be patient and diligent in what you are and what your focus is, because again, if it just landed in our laps, well, that's a perfect world and you wouldn't need services like myself. It does take some time.
Hey, point noted. Yeah. We can all appreciate that we live in such a high-speed job market. And what's one powerful step anyone can take today, whether they're feeling lost, stuck, or even invisible in their job hunt?
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing that I tell folks is never be afraid to ask for help. And usually individuals are going to start out by reaching out to a mentor, a family member, a friend, a spouse. But after a while, they realize that, I might need a little bit more than that. There's nothing wrong, no matter what level you're on, and not just for executive levels either. Especially nowadays with college students entering the workforce now for the first time. There's still a lot of guidance that's needed. Don't be afraid to reach out to a professional for any help, because these days the job market is becoming a lot more competitive and more professionals are reaching out for that professional assistance, and not just writing a resume, but just in the entire career journey, the mapping, the job search and everything else. It's really gotten to be more complex, and a service like mine and a lot of other ones out there can make a big difference.
Kevin, I can certainly attest to that. And also know that you have a very unique blended style. your coaching aspect just brings your book to life, for example. And I was wondering, how did you start Resumedics, and how do you take some of those big ideas in your book that you talk about, along with the C levels where it's been applicable and stuff, and tailor it to someone's unique career path or story even?
Well, like for a lot of businesses, I mean, it started out as a side hustle for many years, and then it just continued to snowball and grow. And after a while, I had to really, step aside and say, can I keep burning the candles at both ends, or I need to stop and say, okay, I think I can take this and run with it. And to be honest, I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate. I've been very lucky. Anybody in this business to tell you that, hard work and perseverance is critical. But I'll tell you, sometimes you also have to make your own luck. And when you see a window, open it. And that's really what I did. The window was slightly cracked. I was able to open it a little bit more, and I never looked back. But I got a lot of great support around me too. My wife, my family, just has really been there for me as well. And that's what I think a lot of people need to really step back and be thankful for the support they can get from the ones they love. So I've been very fortunate.
Kevin, well said. I do think chance favors the prepared mind, and you're a standing example of that. Would you be so kind as to share a standout story? Maybe some surprising transformation that you helped guide of someone who rediscovered their career mojo with your help?
Well, it's really kind of hard to really pinpoint something definitively. I've helped so many people in so many different aspects of it. For some, it's just really helping to give them the confidence and conviction and have them realize, look, you've got a lot of tools here. You've got a lot of background. You have a lot of experience. All you need is for somebody to help you polish that, your own personal brand. And when they've done that, that is really create the foundation behind finding your career mojo. If you want to get a little of that swag back, you have to realize, okay, I know I have these skills. I know I can speak effectively to it. I know I can do that. And for some individuals, if they're just kind of moving up in the same industry, I've been able to help them in that regards. For those who are doing a complete pivot from one sector to another completely, utilizing some new training in education and so forth, I've been able to help them as well. To try to put just definitively one person, I mean, Kireet, there's just so many of them that, it's really just hard to nail down just one specifically. But I will say this, for the ones that I've noticed have made a really big change, and you can see it when they post on their LinkedIn pages, or I got that new job, and you shoot them a comment and they come back and they say, God, Kevin, thank you. You really helped with that. Everybody ultimately has to, be accountable, for their own actions. But if you could provide just that little, like you were saying earlier, spark, a little guidance, a little direction along the way. I mean, that's about as gratifying as it can get. So that in itself, as far as, the story, and to answer your question, there's a lot of little mini wins out there.
Correct. And what a gratifying journey it must have been. I can certainly attest to that oomph, that reswizzle of my own career mojo with your help. And I also realized that there is a pattern you must have noticed in your line of work, that people who rediscover their mojo, they often start leaning into bold career shifts. I was wondering, in your take, what flips that switch for them?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different variables that go into, flipping the switch. But I really think it boils down to, you know, the need. I mean, everybody has a reason as to why they're either moving on to something else. And a lot of times that could be because, a company they work with kind of makes that decision for them, life decisions and this and that. When we talk about flipping the switch, a lot of times, I get a lot of clients who are very proactive. and wanting to flip that switch in their careers. Others because of, a layoff, or somebody who's been around for 25 years, and now boom, they're out of a job, same company they've been with. So there's a lot of different avenues as far as what flips the switch. You have to make sure that once that light is on, it kind of stays on, so to speak. I hope I answered your question on that one.
100%. Thanks, Kevin. That made a lot of sense. And I think for our viewers out there too, these are true stratagems for anybody either just picking up your book or looking for professional help and advice.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate it. And I do appreciate the time, that we have to discuss that. And, to flip it around now, let's talk about your book.
Okay, let's do it.
I, I mean, because I'll tell you what, I knew nothing about graphene technology before I started reading the book. So, and I just, as I start looking at it, and, you know, and by the way, you can get your book, The Graphene Bridge, on Amazon. You can get it also on Barnes and Noble
Correct.
as well. And it will also be available on Google Books this summer.
Yes, and Apple
All
Books.
right.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. Well, I enjoyed helping to be a small little tiny part of this book. You know, Obviously you and your co-author just, you know, did an amazing job. I mean, it really impressed me how you blended the science, the AI and the imagination, how you kind of did it with a purpose. So, to flip it on you, what planted the seed for this story? And you know, why did you feel that it needed to be told?
Well, Kevin, thank you for helping us with the book, of course. You're one of our esteemed reviewers, and you helped us shape and guide the Graphene Bridge. And I will say, for both my co-author, Sapantha Banerjee, and myself, it was a series of deep dives. So I will say this, my personal deep dive into graphene and its interesting world was that initial spark. When I found out about graphene 10 plus odd years ago, I was just hooked. But as I learned more, I started to see powerful connections between graphene and, which is a super material, of course, and more advanced technologies like AI, quantum computing, atomic batteries, free energy, just to name a few. And this naturally gave way to some critical need for sustainable energy solutions, for ethical AI. And to us jointly, this represents a new wave of innovation. Think of it like the fifth industrial revolution, if you will, a lot of RPA. And we felt compelled to share some exciting potential of these advancements with a global audience that's constantly changing. Yeah.
Okay. So when you and Sapenta, and I hope I said that right.
Yes.
I mean, when you were doing this, what were some of the deeper issues or the questions that you hope that the Graphene Bridge will bring out of the readers? I mean, what kind of an impact do you hope that it's going to leave behind?
Wow, great, solid question. We wrote the book for everybody, for a global audience, for the curiously inclined. But for the technically inclined, I aim to provide well-researched information and knowledge to empower their journeys. And as we kind of progressed, or rather more broadly, we started envisioning the book that can foster collaboration
Hmm.
across disciplines and create a more thoughtful, ethical approach to the development, sustenance of AI. We talk about ethical AI and a framework, and then you add in quantum computing and stuff. So we did all this because we're striving to lessen our global energy footprint. And ultimately, I'd love for it to inspire some responsible innovation in turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it reads very innovatively. And I probably just made that word up, but you know, I noticed too that you are an accomplished keynote speaker and, former Toastmaster. And you mentioned previously that you began presenting Graphene Bridge to live audiences. How do you blend that futuristic and ethical theme of the book into your talks when you're out there presenting to college students or other professionals?
Absolutely. I think writing a book is one thing, but presenting it to niche audiences, experts, people from all walks of of life, it presents an opportunity in and of itself. For example, in my talks, I often recognize that we're navigating an overwhelming amount of information. And the themes that we embodied in the Graphene Bridge also create a framework, right, to cut through that noise.
Mm,
And what I tend to do is I focus on simplifying these complex concepts,
mm,
distill the use cases, and that often gives me a clear pathway to understand, integrate these technologies. And then I take that and we make the segue to ethical considerations that people are not even aware of today, but it is a problem of tomorrow that we need to solve. And what I tend to do is I weave these in throughout in the talks, and that prompts very interesting discussions on responsible development. How do we move forward? And these are some interesting topics that often seep into my discussions.
mm. Well, you know, I have to say, and kind of to jump on that, whether it's students or innovators or just leaders, what kind of a spark do you feel like the Graphene Bridge is going to generate from them?
Yeah, another solid question. I'm going to break that down a little bit because I think we all bring something to a book as we read a book or as we partake in a discussion, even if it's just listening, being present. So for students, I hope the book can be a bridge from their foundational fundamentals to advanced concepts. But
Mhm.
for innovators who are already in the field, it may ignite new ideas and possibilities within their respective fields. It can allow for cross-ventilation. But for leaders, the book and the talks, it can provide fresh perspectives
Mm.
on the strategic integration of these technologies. But overall, as a unit, I just hope that the book can empower readers to move from understanding a concept or multiple concepts to active creation and experimenting in their own sandboxes and understanding their environments a little better.
Mm. Right on.
Yeah.
You're an author now yourself, and well, you're all also a speaker. But what role does story playing, playing helping you break through the noise and connect with the audience?
It feels like I'm preaching to the choir here with you, Kevin, but as we know, storytelling is just absolutely
Yeah.
critical, right? You have to read the audience, and storytelling allows me to just distill intricate scientific or technical concepts, ethical concepts into relatable narratives. So my first goal's always been to establish intellectual credibility. And basically that's to showcase the audience that I have a strong grasp on the fundamentals, on the subject matter. But then it's also equally important to establish trust. We have to let each other know that I'm a reliable guide on the journey of a speech or a keynote or another book even. And I think once that incredible foundation's built, I see myself as their Sherpa, just kind of guiding them through complex terrain,
I like that,
also engaging
Sherpa.
with them. Yeah, so I see myself as their Sherpa in a sense.
I like that. I say I'm the shepherd, and you have to
Yes,
take care of the flock. I
correct.
like that, Sherpa. I may have to borrow that.
Please do, please do.
Oh,
Worthy
finally.
title.
Oh, I love that. As I mentioned previously, I mean, the Graphene Bridge, you're highlighting transformative concepts, future tech, AI. But how do you feel that those ideas are going to align with the mindset of someone trying to find their own mojo in today's ever evolving world?
Kevin, I like how you did that, right? Finding the mojo and the graphene bridge. It's a fantastic vantage point for us to have. It's a beachhead, even I'll say. I mean, I believe that the graphene bridge it can be a powerful tool for anybody seeking to find their mojo. Well, what we do know is that the only constant in the world is change, and we're just evolving rapidly. So it helps. The book will help anybody gain a firm grip on the fundamentals of this emerging tech, and it can provide them even an edge, a significant edge, even.
Mhm.
So the book's going to cut through the noise. It's going to offer clarity and some confidence. But by grasping the potential of all these technologies, of graphene, AI, quantum computing, energy, cybersecurity, readers can feel more informed. They can find their direction, they can understand their passion more quickly and confidently and allow for this sort of open engagement, which is ever so important.
Well, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and if there are many components out of there that resonated with me, so I'm sure that it's going to resonate with a wide audience. And I want to say as well. I mean, I know that we've known each other for a while now, and I know that there are a lot of people who um, are entrusted to your guidance and how you've been able to help them as well. So, like I said, thanks again for your time and having me on here and sharing your story as well. And congratulations again on the book. You can get the book, The Graphene Bridge. It is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and coming soon, Apple and Google Books. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you in return. And what can I say? You are a maestro of career coaching. I call it resume craft, so
You're
much
too
more.
kind.
Yeah, and I'm always appreciative of our collaboration.
Uh,
And thank you for making time for us and our wide audience, Kevin.
you as well, my friend. You as well.
Thanks to all the viewers of the Chapter and Verse series. If this sparked something in you, please like, share, and follow me on social media at Kireet Verse. Until next time, stay hungry, stay creative.